everybody, welcome back to another video. And if you're a long-time viewer of this channel, you knew this video was coming. Back in July, earlier this year, I released a video. That video was titled something along the lines of, I am very excited about the new Superman movie. This was right after the photo of David Cornsweet in costume as Superman leaked. Now today, just a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, the official teaser trailer for the new Superman movie leaked, or not leaked, it was released. And I know at one point there was a working title of Superman Legacy. It seems that now they're just calling the film Superman. And it's funny that the movie is coming out in July of next year, because I made the video in July of this year talking about it. So overall, my overall impressions of the trailer, we'll talk about that, and then I'm going to go in and we're going to dive into some screen grabs, and we're going to talk about some more things in particular. I thought it was a very bold choice, opening up on Superman being beat up and on the verge of death, basically. And I think that was a purposeful decision, because so often the criticism you see of people about Superman is like, oh, he's so boring because he's basically invincible. And like, it's hard to relate to that, and there's not high stakes. So right away, James Gunn is like, well, here he is bleeding and breathing heavily in the Yamcha death pose. And I loved the use of the, like it was an electric guitar cover of the classic, iconic John Williams theme from the Christopher Reeve films. Speaking of, I still need to watch that Christopher Reeve documentary. It came out, I think, a month or two back at this point. I still need to watch that. And what I do like about the movie is that it's not an origin story. And you see in the trailer, Mr. Terrific is there, obviously. Hawkgirl is there, Lex Luthor is there, Guy Gardner is there. There's a villain, I believe Metamorpho is there. There's another villain in an all-black outfit, who I'm not gonna say who it is now, because I think that's from a leak, but later in the video I'll mention that. And it's an established world already. I like that we're not doing the origin thing. I am maybe somewhat anxious that there's gonna be too much going on, because just from what I saw in the trailer, it seems like there might be 3 or 4 villains just in this film. But we'll have to see, obviously. And what I did like is the text. The text that they were using in the trailer was very reminiscent of the Christopher Reeve films. The color palette they used was brighter. I've seen some people criticizing the color palette, saying it looks too like a TV show or something like that. I understand that criticism to a certain extent, but I think compared to Zack Snyder films and their very dark palette, very washed out, muted colors, where the blue of the Superman suit is more of like a blackish navy type color. I like having the brighter colors. And I like the overall tone of the trailer. Obviously, like, Krypto steals the show. honestly kind of shocked that they had the balls to include Krypto in this movie and to feature him so prominently in the trailer. I like that decision, but like, that's going from me, a Superman fan, a comic book fan, having like casual audiences buy into that. That is the trick. Seems to be going over pretty well on social media. Seems to be a pretty positive response to Krypto. But we'll see how Krypto operates overall in the movie, because at this point we've only seen him in that short little section of grabbing Superman and dragging him seemingly to the Fortress of Solitude. That's another cool thing that we're getting here. The Fortress of Solitude, we even see it in a screen grab later on that I'll be looking at. But I like that we're seeing the Fortress of Solitude. It's an iconic part of who Superman is that has not really been used heavily in non-comic book media. The TV shows, the movies, etc. don't really show the Fortress of Solitude that much. But overall, I really like the trailer. I love the tone of it. The hopeful tone. I love that the first piece of action we see Superman doing is saving a little girl. I love the hope aspect. You see the children in the war-torn, fictional country, because of course that's how you avoid criticisms and controversies and such. It's a fictional country, but a fictional war-torn zone with the Superman flag and all that. But I like the overall tone this film is going for, with a hopeful, positive, uplifting tone. Because to me personally, that's how I view, that's how I think about Superman, so I'm happy with that. That's what I wanted in this film. And like I said, my only real concern is how they're gonna pull off all the characters here. If anyone can do it, I think James Gunn can do it. This is the guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy and the good Suicide Squad movie, so I think he could manage it. I think, but it will definitely be my chief concern coming into this. So I'm going to take a moment now. We're going to jump into some screen grabs now there's only one thing later on that I'm going to be referencing, a leaked set photo to talk about. So if you don't want to know any of like the leaked set information, you think that, and I haven't read any story leaks, so I don't even know if it's legit, it's just my personal opinion on what it is, then just click away now, but just a fair warning. Okay, so here is Lois and Clark, seemingly in his apartment or her apartment, as this big glowing orb thing is firing a laser beam at the city. And now first off, I just want to say, this actress's name, I think her name is Rachel Brosnahan, something like that. I really like the way she looks as Lois Lane. She reminds me of the Lois Lane from the Henry Cavill films. I saw somebody say that she reminds them of Demi Moore. I think that's a very good observation. She has like a sort of elegant quality about her, and she just looks like, I ain't gonna picture a Lois Lane. I've already talked about how much I like David Cornsweat's look here as Superman. I think physically he looks very good as Superman. The suit is a little baggy. You can see it there on the forearms. It's bunched up a little bit, and a little bit there on the bicep and shoulder as well. So it's not a skin-tight suit like the Man of Steel suit or even the Christopher Reeve suit. I'm okay with it overall. But this thing in the background, this is from the first photo that got released, where he was putting on the boots and this thing was in the background. And there's been a speculation on what this could be, because I believe the main villain that is being built for this movie is Metamorpho. And to me, this doesn't look like a Metamorpho power, but my personal opinion is that this is a creation of Lex Luthor. And the only reason I say that is because of the color scheme. In the comic books, Lex Luthor, his colors are purple and green. And in this trailer, there's a part where you see some soldiers, and their armor is purple and green. So I think the implication is they work for Lex Luthor, and we know that color scheme will be used in this movie. So that big orb thing being purple and green, I feel like that's going to be some Lex Luthor technology, either secretly and like he's creating it to kill Superman, or to make himself look like a hero by stopping it or something like that. But that's my opinion there. But this looks like a great shot, and it's almost like them saying like a potential farewell before he goes and fights this thing. Maybe after he reveals his true identity to her or something like that. But it's obviously a very perilous situation that he thinks he might not make it back from. Of course, here's Krypto. Now I know in the comics Krypto is typically a short-haired dog, but I just really like the fluffy Krypto here. It's a very, very cute dog. Very expressive face on the dog. I don't know if it's a CGI dog or real dog, or combination of the two. Just a very cute screen grab of Krypto here, and I love his little cape, and you can see the stitching lines on it and all that. It's a different shade of red from Superman's cape, which is interesting. Here's Clark Kent and Pa Kent, and now what's interesting about this is he's obviously dressed in civilian clothing here, but he has more of the Superman look about him. Earlier in the trailer, and then later in the trailer, when you see him at work, his hair is very disheveled. He looks very meek. He's wearing his glasses. But here, even though he's in civilian clothing, his hair is, well, it's still messy. It's not like it was. He's not wearing his glasses. He looks a bit more strong-willed, a bit more Superman-esque, even though he's not in his suit. And then you have Pa Kent here going for an older man instead of Kevin Costner. I think it's a nice touch. I especially imagine he'll probably die at some point in this movie, just because that's something that tends to happen. Having him be older, frail, visibly aged, compared to Superman, that contrast I think is a very nice touch. He just looks like a very nice Midwestern gentleman, the type of guy that you could strike up a conversation with at a truck stop, and he'll tell you all the helpful hints. So here's what I was talking about with Clark Kent. You can see him here in his disguise. His suit is very loose, and it makes his arm look skinny. If you compare that to here, he has this tight-fitting shirt. You can see he has large biceps. He looks, quite strong. Whereas here, the suit is not flattering. It's loose, so he's trying to hide his physique, his messed up hair, the glasses. Doing everything he can to look more meek, smaller, weaker. I really like the distinction between Clark Kent and Superman, how different they look. I think they really nailed that vibe. And I love the vibe here of the Daily Planet. You have this, old school sort of Art Deco vibe. You have these yellowish orange lamps. This artwork here in the back looks like a jukebox, an old TV, maybe an astronaut. This old school filing system. It's very like Golden Age comics type vibe and set design, and I really like the set design, even though you're obviously in the modern era here with computer screens and takeaway coffee cups, even the way they're dressed. If you look at this girl in the back, her dress and her dress next to her, it's kind of like anachronistic in a certain way, and I really like the costume design there as well. Here's Superman in the Yamcha death pose. Again, I love the trunks on the suit. I'm a big fan of the trunks. I like the collar, the boots. But it's just again to illustrate the looseness of the suit. You can see at his knees. You can see the suit bunching up a bit. It's not super form-fitting. Now here's a look at Hawk Girl. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And so you can see she has the organic wings instead of it being like some metal wings or something. The hammer, of course. Let me zoom way in. And if you look at the costume, you can see the black arms with like a white middle bit, and it has these like sort of lines and a symbol there in the middle. And when I show you the Guy Gardner photo in the middle, in the next slide, you'll see his costume has very similar design principles, so I think it's sort of Hawk Girl and Guy Gardner are going to be a part of the same team or working for the same person. Maybe they're working for Lex Luthor or Stag or something like that. And maybe in the start of the film they're being like, I don't want to say they're bad guys, but they're being utilized by people who have ulterior motives. And then maybe Superman opens their eyes to that. Then maybe either at the end of the film or in a post-credit sequence, something like that, they get a new costume that's maybe a bit closer to the comic book iterations of their costumes. So I saw some complaints about the costumes, but at least to me it seems that these are not their permanent costumes, and it's more of a narrative choice. Let's go back. So speaking of, here's Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion with the bowl cut. Some people were saying that he's blonde and not a ginger. That's just how red hair looks in real life. Of course it's not going to look like the comic books. And you can even see this is Hawk Girl here behind him, and you can really see here how their costumes have the same design principles, the white in the front, the black. So again, I definitely think it's implied here that they're a part of the same team or unit or company, something like that. And so then you see here from the side on view, and it looks like that might even be, no, that's just Hawk Girl in the back, but you can see that she has some armor on her arms and her legs. You can see Guy Gardner has the vest there over his outfit with the Green Lantern symbol on it. And then Superman seems to be looking at something. It looks like maybe a war memorial or something like that. I'm not sure what Guy Gardner is doing, because there's a group of protesters outside of this. They're protesting a Superman. Just prior to this scene, somebody threw something at his head as he was walking into the building. So I don't know if he's creating something to block their view or what it is, or he's turning this into like a prison to keep Superman trapped inside. It'll be interesting to see what that is. And here's another view. So this is what it looks like before Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl come in. So assuming the scene starts with Superman walking inside, then Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl show up later. And I'm trying to see what he's looking at here. It does look like some sort of war memorial. But you can see specifically there's some glowing yellow bits on the one he's looking at. Don't know, it's very interesting. And there's police here trying to keep spectators at bay, so there must be a particular reason he's here that's like controversial. Lex Luthor, people saying he's doing James Bond cosplay here. This makes me wonder if maybe he was at like a presentation or like a stockholders dinner or something like that, and he's showing off some new technology or invention, or maybe Superman crashes the party for whatever reason and he has a revolver. Now, my feeling is either like he's created kryptonite bullets, or maybe this is like a flashback and like he shoots at Superman and that's how he realizes he's bulletproof, and then that like creates his vendetta against him. Because he does look a little bit younger here, so this could be a flashback. But I don't know, it looks like he's maybe in some sort of server room, or maybe even like a prison or something. It's a very weird backdrop. Luthor Corp instead of LexCorp. Very interesting distinction, and I actually just noticed this. I didn't notice this when I watched the trailer before. There's somebody standing on the roof right there, and it looks like they might have a sword or something like that in their hand, or like a staff or a stick. And there's some people in these windows right here, and it kind of looks like that glass might be broken, so this might be the aftermath of a fight, perhaps. Here's that screen grab of Superman saving the girl. Again, the first piece of action we see in the film. I really liked that. Not sure, looks like he has some orange. Maybe those like gas canisters or something like that, I don't know. How many more of these do I have? I have a couple. Here's Mr. Terrific. And again, it's kind of hard to tell here, but this soldier here in the background has purple and green armor. Now in the comics, Mr. Terrific is often just depicted as having this D painted on his face. As you can see here, this is clearly something he's wearing over top of his face. Now whether this is something he's wearing over his skin or some sort of cybernetic thing that's like robotic, I don't know. But I really love the Mr. Terrific costume. It might be my favorite costume in the movie. And I don't think, based on what I've seen, that he's associated with Guy Gardner, not Girl, because the design principles in his outfit are very different. Well, not very different, marginally different, I guess. Here's a better look at the soldiers here. You can see the green on their arm, the purple, the green in their armor there. So I think they're working for Lex Luthor. You can see this, I feel like this is the same country that the little kid is asking for help in, just given the environment. And he's obviously using his powers here, these, I forget they're called, I think teapots or something like that, to create this force field. I think that might be Lois Lane. So this might be a situation where Lois Lane is doing some investigative journalism, something like that, and he either shows up to save her at the final hour, or maybe this is like Superman's in jail or something, I don't know. And you have another soldier back here. This seems to be the same armor that these ones are wearing, so I don't think this is a special villain. Okay, now speaking of special villains, this is where I'm going to talk about some leaked set information. So if you haven't already clicked away, if you don't want to know, click away now. I think this is going to be the final fight of the movie. You see Superman here, he's getting pushed back by this guy dressed in all black. Now, this is the leaked set photo of that character, and you can see the U on the chest, so I think it's going to be Ultraman, who is so in the comics, Ultraman is an alternate universe Superman, kind of like a bizarro, but not like insane. And I think that's gonna be your main villain in this film, or maybe a secondary antagonist, because I know Metamorpho is in this movie. But I have the feeling that Ultraman will either be working for Lex Luthor or for whoever Guy Gardner, Hot Girl are working for. And like maybe it's like, oh, we're playing both sides, like we'll have heroes and we'll have villains, some sort of like thing like that to cause instability. I don't know. But I think to make it make sense in the movie, this might be like a genetically engineered type superhero type designed specifically to beat Superman. So sort of like combining Bizarro and Ultraman together. But that is, I believe, who this character here is that Superman is fighting. And I think ultimately that is the character that is responsible for what we see happen to Superman at the start of the trailer, where he is sent bloodied and beaten into the snow. So it might be that like Lex Luthor is really the main antagonist, but this is like the heavy, the muscle that he has to get through. But I think this is gonna be your hard climactic fight where it looks like Superman's gonna lose, and the music is gonna kick in and he's gonna win. This year, look at Metamorpho. I feel like this is his death scene, to be honest with you. And I have a feeling Metamorpho might die in like the first third of the movie. Like he might be, like, because he's not, obviously, I don't think the main villain of the film. I could be totally wrong, but I'm gonna come back to this one. I think this is a monster created by Metamorpho. I'm not super familiar with his powers, but having this big dragon, I feel like this is gonna be a part of a fight with somebody else, like a henchman or like a heavy for somebody else, either Metamorpho, or maybe this is some experiment that Lex Luthor has created. That shot of Lex Luthor in the suit, it looked like he might have been in like a science lab or something, so this might be some sort of engineered creature Lex Luthor made, and maybe on the way to trying to perfect to create Ultraman. I don't know, but yeah, I think this is either Metamorpho or Lex Luthor's creation. I don't think this is a main villain in and of itself. And finally we have this shot. This is at the Fortress of Solitude. This is the robot helper that he has, the Fortress of Solitude. I can't remember its name, but obviously something has ripped it to shreds. I think that will be Ultraman or something. And this might be the catalyst for Superman, like, you know, getting back into the fight and finishing it off. Anyways, guys, as I'm sure you can tell, I'm super excited about this film. I try not to deep dive into it too much a lot of the time, but I just couldn't help myself this go around. At the very least, hope you found this relaxing, if not entertaining. But if you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single day. Until next time, guys. Bye bye.